All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Fun at Work Day broadcast here on Matterhorn Business Development YouTube channel. I'm going to take a few minutes I'm going to take about 30, 60 seconds. I'll see on my phone when the YouTube notifications are hitting so everybody can hop in. And then we'll do a more official intro. But while we do that, I'm going to have Stephanie, do you want me to try and add you to the stream? No? Yes? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs down. Okay, cool. We've got somebody trying to join in, but we're having technical difficulties there. Stephanie, if you can't make it on because of audio, you can watch it through the YouTube live stream rather than being in there. We've got some other people coming in, so I'm going to add in Susie. I see you. Are you ready to go? Give me a thumbs up if you want to say hello. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm going to add in Susie. Hey, Susie.
Hi. Hello.
And we're joined here by John Winteregg and his beautiful wife, my Aunt Cindy. Cindy, hello as well.
Hello.
John, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome.
So we've got people starting to watch. We've got the live stream notifications coming on. So people are going to be joining us in and out. I've got the comments box open. Stacia says hello. Hi, Stacia, another Winteregg family from the Indiana clan. We got Grant joining in. Abby is also going to be joining us soon. She is feeding the baby. So when the baby decides he has had enough to eat, she'll be able to join us. The newest of the Wintereggs is being taken care of. So obviously tonight kind of sucks at the same time as we're here to celebrate Greg Winteregg. But you know, I can't believe it's unfortunately been a year already since he left, but, you know, it feels like it's only been 3 or 4 months, but, you know, it has been a year and we didn't want to have it not acknowledged. It's one of those days that, you know, people will say, well, do you really want to make a big deal out of the day your father passed away? But, you know, his legacy of what he did for so many people is so strong that we had to do something for Dr. Winteregg here tonight. And so I just want to thank everybody who's watching this. If you are on the Matterhorn YouTube channel and you're kind of like, what's going on here? This might be a little bit different than you're used to from our usual broadcast and programming, but you've probably seen videos of Dr. Winteregg, and he did pass away a year ago. And so tonight we are going to be joined by family like John and Cindy up there, some of Greg's bestest friends like Grant and Susie on the bottom of the screen. I've got a number of people waiting in the wings that I haven't added to the stream yet. And we're going to talk about how freaking awesome Greg was and how he changed their lives. I've got family, friends, clients. I'm going to add Abby into the stream here because Abby's here. Abby, welcome.
Hello.
Awesome.
Hi, guys. We've
got other people in the waiting room. Mr. Marshall, Mr. Palmer, I see you guys there. I'm going to add you guys in soon. So like I said, we didn't want to not acknowledge what Greg has done for so many people worldwide. And after he passed, we literally got Facebook messages and flowers and chocolates and personal heartfelt emails from multiple continents of people that Greg knew personally, as well as people who we'd never met or even talked to, just found us through YouTube and came on and left us all kinds of amazing comments saying, we've been watching your videos for a year and they've helped my business and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I want to thank everybody that is watching and helping honor Dr. Winteregg. And if you are watching, please hit the thumbs up on the stream and leave some comments. I see Leah saying hello. I got Robin. Robin is there. Stacia, the other Winteregg clan, is there. And before Abby and I kind of get personal with our own stories and stuff, I want to have some other people talk. And I wanted to start it off with John, Greg's brother, because honestly, you knew my dad more than any of us, longer than any of us. And before I ask you my first question, I wanted to see if there was anything that you wanted to say before we officially got started. I open the floor to you really fast if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm prepared to answer that question. What is there to say? Wow, what is there to say? It does seem like it was yesterday, about a year ago.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just off the cuff, the things that come to mind are a life really well lived.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody knew my dad, he always had a smile on his face, and it was hard for him to not be smiling. Now, I did push him over the edge once or twice in my my younger years, be probably more than any of the other two kids. But he always had a smile on his face, and he always wanted to help and do good with other people. And Fun at Work was the book that he wrote about his enthusiasm of, if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. And some people read that and they think, oh, well, this guy only does fun stuff. No, it means that if it sucked, he was going to make it fun and somehow. And he would take tasks and ideas and things that nobody else wanted to do. And he would just say, well, instead of doing a fundraising dinner where everybody just comes and eats steak, let's go to Sebring Raceway and rent Corvettes and have driving instructors, and people can go around the racetrack. And it was the biggest fundraiser that organization had done. And people like Grant and Susie here helped with that fundraiser. But that was Greg's idea to, rent helicopters and fly over the track and go-karts for the kids in the parking lot while everybody else was doing 130 miles an hour at Sebring. He made things fun. And you said something, John, at my dad's celebration of life. Obviously there's, parts of my dad's life that we talked about, but you said something you went to visit Greg in dental school. You show up at his dorm, and there's his dorm mates studying late into the hours, trying to learn. And you're like, where's Greg? And the answer you got was that he was out having fun, having a good time, because he had already studied. He already knew it. And he wasn't sitting there over his desk poring over his notes. And I thought that was such a great representation of how Greg was.
Yeah, and something else about, especially in business, that was very prevalent in Greg's thinking was is to just spend, and we do live this way in my own business. It's part of our mantra, which is there's problems everywhere in all businesses. You get hit that day with something unexpected, or whatever each individual business has. There's challenges, and we learned a long time ago, and Greg was a part of that, is, take a good close look at the problem you're faced with, figure out and diagnose it. And that's about all the energy you get to spend on the problem. All your other mental energy spent on the solution. And when you can spend most of your mental energy and thought and complex problem solving for the solution, instead of wallowing around in the problem later that day, tomorrow, the next day, I can't believe we're in this position, because that has happened to us. I can remember there was members of the family that were involved in a business and together, and it all of a sudden kind of took a turn, and it didn't really go the direction anybody really thought it would, and it really didn't work out in the way they thought it would, and it was pretty disappointing, and it was sad, and people got hurt, and I'll never forget. We were on the phone together with Greg that night, and a number of the family had been hurt over it, and he goes, well, now let's see, it's 8:00 here at night. I'll give you till midnight. But when we get up in the morning, this water is way downstream. We are back on our feet, and we are moving on. That's what our family does. And it was, hey, I'm not going to say you can't ponder it for a few hours. Go ahead. This sucks. This is really bad. But when we get up in the morning, that's an old situation. We're moving forward on our new purpose and our new goals. And so that's something that was Greg, and it's something our family still does in our businesses, is don't give much mental energy to the problems. Give all the good mental energy and thought to your solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Abby, was there anything like that you wanted to ask John by chance before I keep going?
I don't have anything off the top of my head.
Okay.
No. It might come to me later.
I think something else, just so that others can come on too, and you can pull me aside or whatever, Neil, if you decide to. That is so, Greg, is regardless what age you are, where you're at in your career path, where you're at in your business, your personal life, whatever you do until the day you die, you must have a game. You've got to stay in the game. And when the people retire and they go sit in front of a TV all day, and they don't have a game, that's just idleness is very detrimental to your well-being and health. And regardless what it is, whether it's getting up and volunteering or having a hobby or a side business, whatever it is, you must, as he always said, whatever you do, make sure the rest of your life you always have a game. And that's really important. I mean, I'm in a business. We own an investment firm, so I'm around people that look forward every day to retiring. And I can't wait. I have 5 more years till I retire, 1 more year, 10 more years, or 14 years and 23 hours and 43 seconds. I mean, until I retire. And Greg and I would be asked often, I'm still asked, when you're going to retire? No. We might be working differently, and the amount of hours in that business might be allocated a little differently. But when we get up in the morning, it's game on, and it always will be.
What is that advice? Is it the game advice, or is there any piece of other advice that you got that one day my dad said to you that just kind of stuck out, and you said, "Holy crap, that's something I need to think with," and it changed how you ran your business or how you looked at it?
Oh, I'll think about it.
Really, you can think about it.
Those two areas of focusing on solutions and staying in the game cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, absolutely. That does cover a lot of ground. Well, you, John, you can stay on this stream as long as you want, talk whenever you want. Other people on the stream, feel free to pipe up, say anything that you want. I'm going to add a couple more people here, some other friends, family. We got John Marshall, the maniac out of Clearwater, Florida. We got my long lost brother, Jeff Palmer, here. Jeff was like an adopted family member at one point, was living at our house in Virginia. So I grew up with Jeff. I want to flip to John Marshall really fast. And just for those other guys here on the stream. So John has a networking organization here in Clearwater area called Suncoast NPI, Networking Professionals, Inc. He owns 11 chapters now, John?
Yes, sir.
And you've been working with business owners for, how long?
Long time.
A long time. And as we know, when it comes to the type of organizations, the networking chapters that you have, you get people of, if you've got 11 chapters, you've got 11 different realtors, mortgage brokers, insurance brokers. You get everything from everywhere. And you met Greg what was it, about 2 years ago?
I can actually got it right here.
There you go.
Here. So it was a little bit before this, but February 25th, 2020 is when I officially say I met Greg, but I had the privilege of meeting him and Abby actually probably 3 or 4 weeks prior to that.
Yep.
So you've met a lot of different business owners, a lot of different business consultants,
right? Because
you also have had your own career before and during all of this, where you're doing your own stuff, tech companies, all that type of stuff. Now, and no, this isn't a slight to anybody else that are other consultants that are out there, but when you first met Greg and he said he was a business consultant, you had a conversation with him, you had to have known pretty quickly that this guy was a little different from all the other consultants or people that you had talked to.
Yeah, there's no question of that one. First of all, I'm just gonna say cheers to Greg, and it seems like a year. It was just wow. But now I remember, Abby, it was like yesterday when I sat down with you and your dad for the very first time. I remember the exact spot. It was a Starbucks on 19 in McMullen, and I see your Profit First book in the background. But not even that, just his charisma and his smile, and I bring a lot of energy to the table, but I was like, oh my goodness.
You met your match that day.
Man, I got to be related to this guy somehow, because he just brings it, and he brings it with just such a humble spirit and just that pure, just servant heart that's just there, that wants to just embrace you and hug you and just help you grow and challenge you at the same time. So it was one of those meetings where, you know, I met somebody, and I knew right from that moment when we sat down, I'm like, oh, we're going to hit it off and we're going to become friends, and business will be business, whatever. But he's a true gentleman and just a champion.
Yeah. And he became a pretty integral part of your Oldsmar chapter that you had. I mean, he started doing the teaching moments every week. He started meeting with everybody, helping their businesses.
For sure.
I mean, he was very selfless with his time.
Yeah, if I may, because literally one of our moments when in each one of our chapters, we call it the aha moment, which is awakening honesty in action. It was our acronym, but Greg took a hold of that, and he embraced it. He said, I would love to do that. And, you know, everybody on the screen knows what kind of talent he brings to the table day one. And I tell you what, those people in that chapter every single week, they got a lesson. They only didn't get a nugget. They got a 5-minute pearl of wisdom that I wish we archived it. And if I may, I'll never forget that we even talked about changes to the Winteregg moment, the Greggism, and this that 1 week after we found out, literally everybody around this room, there's probably 30, 35 people in there. They all just kind of recounted, you know, what Greg brought to the table for this just individual chapter and touching these lives. And this is just a small little area in Oldsmar, Florida, right? And we all know Greg was in Oldsmar, Florida. And I don't think I really knew that until I went into the service that day. You still talk to me about that one, Neil.
That's true. So, you know, for other people that are watched or whatever, you know, most everybody knew Greg for his dental consulting and the company that he had, and the largest dental practice management company in North America, and realistically probably the world at that point.
Yeah.
Well, when he started working with general business owners, he met through a friend. We met a guy named Bobby Paolini who wanted to be here desperately tonight, could not be. Good friend of John Marshall's. And Bobby said, hey, come to this NPI networking thing.
Yep.
My dad had never been to a networking meeting a day in his life. I mean, he went from being a dentist to to a dental consultant, and now he's out here meeting guys like John Marshall. And he shows up there and just tells everybody, I'm a business coach. I'm a business mentor. I work with my daughter and my son. And, you know, everybody just thought he was this nice little guy with a little business. And he never told anybody anything about the fact that, you know, he's basically the number one known guy in the world of dentistry. And so people show up to the celebration of life at the facility here in Pinellas Park, and they're like, Neil, where am I? And I'm like, oh, well, it's funny you asked. This is actually business. They're like,
who are these 300 people who showed up?
There was like 500 people there. They were like, what is going on here? You know? But that was what, I mean, if it was me, I'd be like, yeah, you know, I'm the number one guy in dentistry. I'm here to help you with your landscaping company. And here's my dad. He's like, you know, yeah, I'm just here to help you with here's my book. Here's Profit First. And he's just like so humble and so chill. Nobody knew it. You know what I mean?
Beyond humble. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know any of the stats off the top of your head, but that just reminds me. I mean, he delivered seminars on 4 continents, and you know many countries and how many people.
By Dad's estimation, he had to have lectured to 100 to 150,000 people at some point. You know, when it all added up. And then here he is at this networking breakfast at what was it, Fat Cat Tavern, or what was that? Yeah. What was that? Was that what it's called? Yeah.
Those Big Daddies.
Big Daddies. Big Daddies. Daddy's Grill. Daddy's Grill, having breakfast with John, and nobody knew what his background was, anything like that. He just said, I'm a dentist, you know?
Yeah. And if I may, Neil, another thing I'll never forget, that day when he came, he grabbed me afterwards and he's like, you know, and everybody knows around the fire, you know, the fire in his eye and just the passion behind him.
Yeah.
And he's like, He goes, "You had me at the Pledge of Allegiance.
That's
is
right.
amazing. I want to be part of this."
Yeah, we start every
I can't
MPI
even
with
do
the
it
Pledge
justice.
of Allegiance, and
Just with the energy level and just the
yeah.
big charisma and the smile that just goes on for days and days. So
That's right. That's right. Michael, welcome. I did see you were there. We got the owner of Metapulse here, our channel sponsor. So we'll bring Michael in here in a few minutes.
Although I've got almost a lost voice. I completely lost it yesterday, and I was like,
oh man. By the way,
I'm not gonna have a voice for this.
what time is it in Australia right now, man?
You're gonna give me my voice back, and well, it's 90% here, but it's good enough.
Oh, you're good. What time is it in Australia, buddy?
Actually, it's not too bad. It's 9 a.m.
Oh, okay, not bad.
Okay.
Well,
Not like normally when you get me up at like 5 a.m. to do a stream.
well, enjoy your coffee. Well, John, really quickly, what is something that really stood out that my dad taught, or you've had other people in the chapter say something about Greg? What business advice or knowledge from what stood out to you, I guess? What made him different?
Like the business coach, and again, there's no disrespect, because I know there's a bunch of them all over the place, but you're like, oh yeah, they just couldn't make it in business, so I'm going to be a coach. But I'm like, no, I mean, this guy, he brought it to the table, and he's just real. And I just I laugh because I think of your brother Vince, right? Because I'll never forget, Vince. I mean, he's always Vince Lombardi to me, not Vince Winteregg. Every time I see him, so just the quotes there: plan your work your plan. But what I'll never forget is the circle, the infamous circle, the sales, and just bringing it all back around, and then repeat process above it. But really, just like it sounds so simple, having fun at work. And I think John, you were mentioning this earlier, sir, that that didn't mean it's because I was easy and laid back. And I think that's where Greg and I were kindred spirits, because hey, we want to have fun no matter what, and we're just going to plow through this. And John, you even mentioned that earlier. We can ponder this for a few minutes, but I even heard this earlier today. I'm not looking backwards. I'll look backwards for a little bit. I'll look backwards to ponder. I'll look backwards just for a moment, to kind of make myself better. But tomorrow's a new day, and we're going to plow ahead. And I think that's the biggest thing I personally picked up with Greg. And it's just awesome. I miss him to death, and I got July 13th. It's forever going to be International Fun at Work Day.
That's right. In fact, I think that Michael, that was your suggestion.
It
correct?
was Michael's idea.
So Michael here,
he immediately reached out to us, when news hit down under, and made that suggestion, and we loved it.
Yeah, so we appreciate
Brilliant, Michael.
We like the thought, Michael.
What better way to remember him by? And it really, speaking to John's point just then, it's not about yay, everyone's wearing party hats. Like that's not the point. It's target attainment and achieving your goals and overcoming the obstacles to actually get something done and create it. And that's what I remember most from him. He's whenever I met Greg, he's the fire in his eyes on wanting to achieve a target or get something done, or oh my god, that's really exciting, let's make it happen, was just always there. I mean, the guy was ridiculous in that aspect. I don't think I've ever met him where he's not at that. We're doing it. And if he did for some reason dip like half a degree down into that, he then stops and goes, hey, we're not having fun here. How are we going to have fun? Or let's go to lunch, I think is the favorite quote.
Let's go to lunch. By the way,
for lunch?
What's for lunch? By the way, that enthusiasm, that target attainment, he loved doing that with everything, right? Like it wasn't just business. Like people think, oh, it's just business. He gets fired up about making money or something. It had nothing to do with that. You should have seen him make fillets on a grill. I mean, it was a work of art. He had this thing, and it was a rotisserie spinner, and he'd be out there brushing on the flavoring and checking it and temperaturing it and rigging it up so it spun faster or slower. I told the story at the Celebration of Life. We got him into sim racing online with video games, and he had a wheel and pedals, and he would race for hours to try and get better and nail a track and nail a lap time. Yep. And like he did that with like literally anything, with precision, with intention, with having fun. He always had a goal, whether it was cooking food or helping a business owner or something like that. Like he always did all of that. And it wasn't just like, I think some people have the idea that like the person that you see is not the person, when they're at home.
That's not
And
right.
with Greg, it was always just like the guy that I knew my whole life was the same guy everybody else saw. And I think that people it's hard for sometimes people to understand that, you know what I mean? Like he literally was the same person all the time, like he was always on and just going and having a blast doing whatever it was that he was doing.
It was definitely like work hard, play hard, the epitome of that. And
yeah,
I'm thinking Uncle John about our trips to Switzerland, and you and my dad would plan out everything to the T, and we were all just along for the ride, and we always got into some crazy antics and were the loudest people in the restaurant and would get stared at all the time. But
and when you guys went to Switzerland, didn't he go paragliding?
we went paragliding. We have
like get off the airplane, no sleep, off the airplane in Switzerland. Yep. The first thing he does is go paragliding off a mountain.
Yeah.
That was my dad. That was dad having fun. That was how he did it. He took everything out. I also want to give a shout out in the comment section to Premium Dentistry, my friend Dr. Al Lamone and family. Thank you guys for watching. I did see your comment down there. I want to switch gears again really fast. And again, any of you guys feel free to pipe up at any point in time. But I want to introduce Jeff Palmer to the stream. Jeff is a long lost brother. He was an adopted family member at one point. My dad met Jeff in Chicago. How old were you, Jeff, when you met Greg?
So that was 1994. So I was 24. How old were you, Abby?
3.
I remember going over to your house and you were sleeping on the couch, all comfortable, 3 years old. Yeah, that was.
We actually met Jeff in Chicago. My dad hired him at the dental practice management company. He had only been a partner in that company for probably a year or so.
9 months.
9 months.
9 months.
And gave Jeff a chance to come and work in the company. The company moved to Virginia. The company moved to Florida, and Jeff actually came that whole time before moving back up to Virginia with family. And now he runs his father-in-law's dental practices. And so, Jeff, you had you met my dad at a young 24. What was that like?
Wow.
Well, not only did I meet him, working at MGE, I was 9 months out of college. So, and I minored in selling. So basically I learned at MGE that I learned how to sell all wrong. And,
pretty much.
And, looking back at it, when I look back at it, even a few years after, I worked side by side with Greg for like 3 years. And so I sat right next to him on the phone and listened to him, sell people, which the hardest thing for me to learn it. And the thing that he taught me that was the most valuable is selling is just helping people.
That's right.
And all Greg was interested in doing was helping people. And that's why he had so much fun, because his heart was so pure. Yes, did he like making money? Yeah, because he liked to play games, but his success was because his sole interest was only in helping people. And I think that was something that was very difficult for me to grasp. But once I got it, that was the tipping point. That's what made me great. And I stuck around and did so well in selling at MGE and even teaching people selling now, is because selling is really simple when you understand it's all about helping people.
That's right.
And when you do it well, then you help a lot of people, you make more money. That's the simplicity of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the reason why, even when, Neil and I were working together with Greg for years, and he loved to go all over the country and he loved to talk to new people. I mean, and when you're talking to new people, it's hard because you're selling them and they're very distrustful. And Greg just loved that. He loved converting people that were non-believers into believers, so to speak,
Yeah.
That was his passion. I'm like, gosh, I am exhausted from this. And he's like, I love it, And, it just turned him on,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just stuck with me all these years, and so many things that I do today go back to, working with him side by side for those beginning years and just learning really how to talk to people and find out what they need and give it to them. And sometimes, and a lot of times you can't help them and you still have made a friend, but you can't help them, and they come back later when you can help them. And I think, that's the problem with selling these days. And we talk about this, Neil, with the car industry.
Oh yeah.
People that don't know how to sell are just out to try to make a buck, and they don't get it, and it's frustrating. And Greg's mission was to make sure that people understood that selling is helping.
Yeah, you're right on line with I was thinking of this. This is a memory that I have from very clearly from many, many years. It's the moment I realized my dad was a badass. So one day we're driving and we're living in Virginia, and I'm like 13 or 14. And so I'm trying to figure out where I want to go in life, what I want to do. And I was helping like on the weekends with like shredding paper and doing random crap at his company and learning a little bit more about what my dad did. I really didn't, you don't necessarily pay attention to that kind of stuff. And we're in the car. We're in one of his, I think it was his black Corvette or something like that. It was one of his Corvettes. And he had a cell phone, which, that was pretty big, 98, 99, whatever it was. You got your cell phone. And we were driving and a client called him back. And the client was all pissed off. And I could hear a little bit through. Client was, apparently my dad had been trying to call him and reach him for a while. My dad kept calling him and calling him and calling him. And the guy never called him back. But finally the guy calls him back and he's complaining about how my dad's calling him all the time. And my dad said, you know what? If I were you, I'd be really scared when I stop calling you. And I was like, whoa, he just said that to somebody, right? And my dad calling to help you and grow your business and do all this stuff. And then you're complaining that I'm calling you. So, I would be scared when I stop calling you because I care. And my dad hung up the phone and I don't remember what happened, but he said, he told me, he said, never let anybody make you wrong for trying to help them. Never let somebody tell you that you're bad when you're trying to help somebody do something. And I said, did you mean what you said? He's like, of course I meant what I said. And he was kind of disgruntled, but I now know that it was just because you're trying to help somebody and they keep making you wrong for it. You just say, it's not that you're mad at them. You're mad that they're not listening. You're mad that they won't accept the hand that you're trying to offer to them. And that's when I kind of realized my dad was a badass, was that conversation. Actually, it's a moment that I've had in my mind for a long time. And it's kind of where I started to realize more about what he did and understanding the desire to want to help. Like you said, Jeff, it's not about money. It's about helping somebody change something. And that was like one of the first conversations I ever really heard with my dad with a client on the phone. Because before cell phones, he had all of his client phone calls at the office. You didn't get to hear those things. So then the cell phone comes around and he starts talking to people. And you're like, wow, you say that to people?
I definitely had similar moments when I started, being on calls with him with clients. And, he was never mean or anything like that. But there were times where he had to like have a come to Jesus moment with someone and get real with someone. And I had never watched him do that until I was on client calls with him. And I would be like, wow, you just called that person out, but that's what needed to happen. And, it was always for the better. And it was never to make the person feel less or feel bad, but it was like, they needed to hear that perfect thing. He always knew like the perfect question to ask and when to ask it. And what our friend Bobby that you mentioned earlier called him a wisdom exorcist, in that he just would like, he wouldn't even like, he would just ask the right questions. And then Bobby would have his own realizations of what he needed to do to fix the problems in his business.
Yeah, I say every salesman's job is to actually find out what question you need to ask to get the person to see the problem the way that you see it. And a good salesman is the person who can ask the question that person will then see it from, not from how you see it, but from that person's point of view. And Dad was really good at doing that. I learned how to sell by being on the road with him, traveling around and doing different seminars. And in the beginning, when I was 16, I wouldn't say anything. We'd go to these dental offices and I would listen to him talking to these people, these doctors, and I would just sit there like I was invisible. I didn't say a word. And we would get back into the rental car because we had flown into a different city, whatever. And I would ask him for the entire car ride from that office to the next office. I would ask him, why did you do this? Why did you say that? What did you do? and he would tell me his thinking process and his thought process until about 6 months later, he dropped me off at an office and I just closed it on my own without him even being there. I wasn't supposed to close it. He hadn't planned on that, but I just walked in and did what he had taught me how to do. And that's when I said, okay, I like this. And Abby,
a lot of people very jealous of you right now, David.
I know. I have a lot of data. I mean, I think it's a very interesting thing. I'm putting Abby on the spot here, but when we first started Matterhorn, Abby was not going to do any sales.
Mhm.
Abby was not really even going to be involved with the client delivery. And then you started doing little bits until one day, yeah, you just started doing it on your own. Was that just because you saw Dad do it and you said, I can do this?
So the doing it on my own didn't really come until he passed. That was more out of necessity and really being thrown into the fire. I didn't, to be honest, feel ready yet. But in true Greg fashion, I just did it anyways. And I have to hop off here in a minute because
I know you got the baby,
a newborn to tend to. But I don't really even know how it happened. I was trying to think about that recently of how I started being on client calls, and I think I had just expressed that I was kind of done being a background person, and he started coming to me with questions. He'd be like, hey, this person has this problem. And it was something that, I have the more administrative back office flows and systems whereas he's the big thinker, the go-getter, the visionary. So we really found we had a yin and yang relationship that worked really well on calls together. And it's definitely been different to adapt and everything. But I think just being inspired by him and being around him, I was able to kind of continue on even without him in that sense. And the one thing I was going to say is I could say 1 million things. I could talk forever about lessons learned and how amazing he was. But one thing I just realized while we were sitting here was, I really think a trait that I adopted was really a sense of optimism and responsibility. So whenever anything goes wrong, I just know that it's going to be okay. And that's because that was how Dad always was. And whether it was in business or in personal, no matter how crappy something happened, it was that's okay. And it was very solution oriented, okay, this is a really crappy thing. We could get all down on ourselves and crawl into a hole, but we need to figure out how we're going to make it go right. We're going to fix this. So, and I do that all the time without even realizing that I think I got it from him just by example. And, a year ago, I kind of had to do that on my own and say, this is awful, but I need to keep going. There's I got to figure it out. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, but it's going to be okay. I don't know how. We're going to keep Matterhorn going. I don't know how, but it's going to be okay. And I think that's a very huge takeaway from my time with him professionally and personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. Now, Mr. Marshall, you have to bounce.
Yeah, can I just bounce in real quick with Abby?
Yeah.
And so Abby, I thank you for sharing that, and because I just have different memories as well, just as looking back over the year. And I remember having a lunch out at the fresh market. I can't remember the place, but I remember you drove up there. And I had me with somebody else, and we just hugged and embraced and cried, and that's another memory I'll never forget. And so I think it's awesome what you shared, and I give you kudos and congratulations. With the birth of your child, which is huge, but just take it and run with it. I'm very confident your dad looked down and he has just a big smile on his face on what you have done since he moved on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Abby.
All right, I'm gonna head out. Bye, everyone. I'll be
Bye,
watching
Abby.
the replay when I can, probably at 4 a.m. You know.
Me as well. Thank you so much.
John,
Bye,
thanks for
Abby.
coming on, man.
My privilege.
Neil, I got to say hi to Al Lamone. My gosh, that is a blast.
Can you see Al in the comments? That is a blast from the past. What's up, Al? Yeah, so Al has a house down here. So his family's down here. So I run into them. They're awesome people, and he's still doing dentistry up in New Jersey. So obviously they're on the live stream here. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, this is another one. My dad's clients from like what, 1997.
That was definitely pre-2000.
That was definitely a long time ago. So
Yeah.
Al, thank you. Kate, I see your comment as well. Well, Greg and Susie, why don't you guys say hey really fast? You were personal friends of Greg and got to probably see him work the grill. You got to help with his crazy racetrack fundraising ideas. What do you have to say?
We're unmuted.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yes, he said you. Yes.
Either one of you. You guys.
I want to say one thing before Grant speaks.
Absolutely.
So
I didn't prepare anything. By the way.
well, we didn't.
No,
think
then
it was
you
that
guys should just
simple.
leave. I'm just kidding.
No, but we had the pleasure. Obviously, I mean, Greg was one of our best friends, and we had the pleasure of meeting him like 7 years ago. He had this crazy idea of doing this fundraiser, and it had to do with racing. And my husband was a race car driver, and so he came and asked us. We did know him socially, but not well prior to that. So in just a matter of weeks, we put on a pretty fantastic event that did amazing. But the thing that impacted me the most, that I have to say, and it's so funny to hear all these people's different stories of the same thing. I don't know who's got that background noise, but it's kind of like a vacuum cleaner maybe or something going on. I don't know what that is. Anyway.
I don't hear anything, but go ahead.
Oh, really?
Let me see. I'll mute Jeff really fast. Let's see if it's Jeff.
No.
No.
It's a computer fan that's going.
Oh, it's a computer.
Oh, it's a computer fan. That's what it is.
That's what I thought.
That happens.
That's funny. Okay. Well, it's not us because we've been muted. But anyway. But what I was going to say was the one thing, I've done a lot of events in my lifetime, like tons, and very big events and medium events. This was a huge event with hundreds of attendees, race car drivers. We had to organize everything for VIP areas and all kinds of crazy stuff. And we had swag and the whole 9 yards. And the one thing that I saw it was the first time I ever did an event with Greg.
Mm-hmm.
His spirit of play, his joy, even under the tightest pressure. This was the part that blew my mind. The pressure would mount and intense things would come flying at us. And instead of like getting into any of the intensity, he would be like, that's interesting. All right. So let's do this or let's do that. And it was such a different experience for me. The event was flawless when it was done, truly, because it was so much fun. And it was super, super productive, like insanely productive for the amount of time that we took. And if anything came up that was difficult, he really kind of gave me that viewpoint of if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. Mm-hmm. And that had such an impact on my life. And the other thing is he would also tell us that he loves us. And I have to say, it's such a stupid thing, but because he passed suddenly, there had been so many exchanges of I love you over the years, genuinely communicated, that there was a feeling of peace, as weird as that sounds. And he's literally one of my favorite people in the entire world. And John, I can't imagine how amazing it was growing up with him. I can't imagine how, I see the Winteregg attitude, and it is such a gem and such a joy and such a blessing in every area of life, in my opinion. Anyway, I just had to say that because he's a leader unlike anything I've ever experienced. And as a business owner, I feel like everybody can learn something incredibly valuable from that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was what I wanted to say. He made it fun even when it's stressful. It's like, all right, we're still going to tackle it. It doesn't make it less stressful to be, you know, it's not going to make it get handled faster by being upset about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, did you want to say something?
Yeah. I mean, this is tough for me because I miss him.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand.
Yeah. I mean, the what's interesting is like there's certain people that you run into throughout a lifetime, and I think those people are probably counted on one hand that really make an impression on you. And sorry. And Greg was one of those. I mean, I remember the first time. I mean, we've known him socially for years, for probably 20 plus years. We'd cross paths in different. We have nothing to do with dentistry.
No.
But we'd cross paths in different capacities because we were involved in a couple of different local business. What did we call? What was it called?
Like networking groups and stuff. We had a business expansion club where we would do business
like
mentorship
local,
and stuff like that.
Just as business owners, we were also involved in local groups to help other businesses as well. We crossed paths in that over the years, but then in whenever it was 2013, 14, I guess, when he approached me and said, "Hey, I want to do this event, this charity fundraiser," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm into it. Obviously, I mean, you know, doing something good for the community and race cars. Yeah, sign me up." But what was fascinating was, so I'd known him socially, but I didn't really know much about him other than he was a high-powered, you know, partner of MGE. I didn't know much about his character and his personality. So we sat down in this restaurant to go over to plan out this event. And it was Susie and I and Greg and Sandra. So it was the four of us.
And then we invited 2 more people.
Yeah, who didn't do anything. So essentially it was the four of us. And we're sitting there and Greg goes, "Okay, so I have the track. So we're going to rent Sebring, which is $35,000. And we need, you know, food and blah, and blah, and blah, and blah. You know, all of the things that go with a massive public, you know, an all-day event with hundreds and hundreds of people. And an overnight event, hotel, you know, the whole thing." So we go, "Okay, cool. So what's set up so far?" He goes, "Well, I have a date." We go, "Okay." So we have a date. He says, "Yeah, there's only one day available that the track is available in the next upcoming 3 months." And so we have this one, was it a Sunday? This one Sunday that's available. Like, "Okay, great. When is it?" He goes, 4 weeks from yesterday. This is a Monday night, right?
Yeah.
We're sitting in this restaurant. He's like, "It's 4 weeks from yesterday." So basically 27 days. We're like, "Okay, cool." So then what? So he's like, "So I have to tell the racing school, the company that was providing the cars and the instructors, and they were going to place the reservation for us at Sebring." And he's like, "So I have to give them an answer essentially tonight or tomorrow and give them a $15,000 deposit." So I'm like, "Okay, good. So let's do it." So he's like, "Great." And it was the weirdest thing. Like, we sat there, like the four of us. So it was essentially 2 of us because it was just 2 couples, right? 2 families. And Sandra wasn't, you know, she wasn't going to be out there pounding the pavement, you know, raising donations or whatever. And Susie
She was helping me hostess and stuff.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
So it was just the most. It was just this. Yeah, sure. Well, we can do it. We can make that happen in 27 days, right? But there was no stress. There was no. It was just, he got our agreement and said, hey, and I just felt like I was on this, I was on the Greg train. It's like you just climb on board, and
Well, you didn't have Grant, you didn't have stress because of all the notice he gave you.
yeah, there wasn't enough time for that. And we just got to work, and I remember him and I would go, we're like, okay, so in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we have to raise, we needed somewhere around $50,000 or $60,000 to cover just the expenses of the event. And then, of course, we had a fundraise, like actually get the charitable donation, get the pledges as well. So we, the next day we jumped in his Corvette, and we took a notepad and we made a list of prospects. We jumped in his Corvette and we drove around town and went from business to business, knocking on doors and raising donations. And then every week, every Monday or Tuesday, we'd hook up. Monday morning, that was our routine. We'd get together, we'd jump in the Corvette, and we'd go drive around town. And that was kind of our life for the next 3 or 4 years or 5 years, in terms of that was our routine, because this became an ongoing thing.
It was the most fun event ever that I had ever been a part of, despite the fact that we had 27 days to put it together.
Yeah, but I have to, if you don't mind, if I'm not out of time.
What did you say, Neil?
Oh, we lost your audio.
You're on mute, Neil.
Oh no, he just has to speak up because he unplugged. It's okay, Neil. We can hear you, but
you verklempt?
But everybody has to be quiet.
No. So that's why the audio's fixed and we don't hear any fan noises, because Neil's destroyed his audio. That's awesome.
So what
you said year 2. I'll try to read your lips while you say it.
No, seriously, we can't hear you.
Try the settings on the app, the audio input, Neil.
Can you unplug it and just talk directly into your computer, which is not amazing, but still better? Maybe.
I think his headphones are.
How's now?
Oh,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah. I think my headset is dying. In year 2, when you guys had more than 27 days to prepare, you had helicopter rides, right? We had go-karts for the kids.
Right.
That the local dental office sponsored the go-kart track for kids to have fun. We had banquet dinner. We had all kinds of stuff, and it just kept building up and up and up as the event kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had, just to give you, I will say one thing as a bragging point. This is the level and the standard of care with which Greg expects, but without the seriousness attached to it. He wanted it to be so amazing. And the people that were like the high donors that were donating a lot of money to come and race, one of them owns a Ferrari. And he had gone to the Ferrari school in Italy. And I think it was the last year that we had the race. And my job was, I was the VIP handler. So my job was to make sure that all the VIPs were super happy and that everybody was having a good time. And so I checked in on him and I was like, how's it going, Jim? Are you having fun? And he looks at me and he goes, this is the best year yet. And he's like, this is as good as Ferrari school. And he'd gone to Ferrari school in Italy. And I was like, yeah, I could not wait to tell Greg. He was so excited. I was like, all right, here's the feedback. It was so great.
All right, there we go. In fact, you guys did events in not only at Sebring, you did one in Italy at Monza Raceway in Italy, and you did one in Detroit too, right?
Yeah. Greg and I flew up to Michigan Speedway, and we raced ARCA cars. And that was an experience that I've never had, because I've raced cars, but road course, never like roundy round, never NASCAR style. And that was my first experience in that.
Yeah, so you take an event that you had 27 days to prepare for, nobody had ever done before, you guys had never done it like that before, and then it expands out to Italy and it expands out to Michigan at different raceways, all for the point of raising funds for charity. So that's pretty. That's definitely like the most Greg thing ever.
It was so Greg.
But here's another thing that was like classic Greg. Is there was, I don't know if you were there, you were probably there. We did a fundraiser at the Winteregg house, at the house on Buttonwood. And I don't think it was Race for the Future related. It was just a charity. You know, Greg was always involved in charity events, regardless of what they were for. We did a fundraiser. Actually, no, it wasn't a fundraiser. It was just it was a get together. I think it was for Race for the Future. It was for one of the subsequent years, and we had all the staff, all the volunteers over.
That's right. It was a pre thing.
Yeah, just to do planning and all that. So Greg says, "Well, everyone come over, and I'll get some barbecue going." So, and of course, Greg's definition of getting barbecue going is catering in full on, you know, the roll up the big pit in the driveway on the big trailer smoker thing. He had this barbecue joint down in downtown Largo that he had discovered that he just loved. And so he orders in, so they're out in the driveway and they're smoking brisket and, you know, doing this whole number. And I'll never forget, I went out there I was a smoker at the time. So I went outside and I was smoking in the driveway. And I remember seeing Greg come out, and he came out to check on the guys cooking the food, people that he had hired, you know, who really, and he had a whole 30 or 40 people inside the house, and, you know, things that were much more important that he should be doing. But he came out to check on the guys cooking the food and to make sure that they were doing okay. Asked them if they needed bottled water, something cold to drink, made sure they had, it was just, he's just, you know, like they don't make those kind of guys anymore.
Yeah, it's a true story. Those guys would cater events for us it's the Smoke and Rib Shack in Largo. Yeah. And they show up with the smoker and they come to your house and it's all the food. And my dad one day was asking them, you know, when they're busy and, you know, 4th of July, how they do 10,000 chicken wings on the 4th of July and all this stuff. And one night my dad goes, "Man, I wish you guys could cater my Super Bowl party, but I'm sure you're slammed at the Super Bowl." And the owner goes, his name's Corey. He's like, "Actually, we've never catered a Super Bowl party before for whatever reason." So my dad's like, "Well, you're hired." So the crew shows up to our Super Bowl party, and after everybody's eaten and all that stuff, my dad's like, "Come on in." So the owners of the Smoke and Rib Shack are in our movie theater watching the Super Bowl with us. And then my mom finds out that it's Corey's birthday and he loved her lasagna. So next year when they came back, we put candles in a lasagna just for him. And everybody sang happy birthday to him. There's like 80 people. And every year for like 3-4 years, they wouldn't book any other Super Bowl party except coming to our house because they got to hang out with everybody, watch the game with everybody. It wasn't like they were working. It was like they became part of the family. That's how my dad did everything. You know, it was just that type of a style and that type of way. Michael, what else would you like to say, buddy? We haven't really called on you yet. I feel bad. You're all the way up there having your coffee in Australia. You get to work with my dad for a while, but long distance.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing because, you know, I'm hearing these stories because I didn't get to work with Greg. I met him personally maybe a dozen times, right? And it would always be at some random point in the world. You know, I think I met him in Florida or Clearwater twice out of the dozen times, which is really interesting because I'd bump into him in different locations at different events. One time we had Japanese together in Los Angeles. I mean, you know, it's just random moments of getting with Greg. And I think the thing, like I mentioned before, that comes across is that he just has this passion to, for want of a better word, make it go right. You know, he sort of approached anything with the viewpoint of it's going to work out, and it's going to work out well. And if it hasn't worked out well, then obviously we haven't finished it yet. So we just need to keep going, because if we just have the viewpoint that it's going to get done, it will get done. And everything that he did was with this sort of insouciance of life, which is very rare. You know, that you very rarely saw him dip down, as I mentioned before, into anything except absolute enthusiasm. And every conversation that I would have with him, it was really funny. You start talking with Greg, and it's sort of his signature move is like, yeah, tell me more. You know, like he's like, really? What? Tell me what this is. Should I be excited about this? Is this exciting? Like, can it be exciting? If it's not exciting, you know, that's how he operated. And, you know, it's why I ended up working more closely with Neil and Abby. And, you know, the whole fun at work idea just marries straight into what we do here at Metapulse, in terms of, you know, that you want to hit those targets, you want to achieve what you want to do. And I just saw this as just like a perfect engagement, and to honor his legacy. And when he did pass, you know, word spread. I mean, I didn't find out from Neil and Abby. I found out from other people just over here in Australia. I mean, and I think it was within hours that I found out. And that, you know, it's terrible news, but it also speaks to just how many people's lives he touched, that news of his passing spread around the world in a matter of minutes. You know, it's incredible that it's incredible, but it's completely not unexpected if you knew Greg. You know, it's like, that's the sort of person he was. He just touched so many people, and everyone. I think there's a really great thing that I've tried to live my life by, and I'm sure Greg did, in terms of, you know, the true test of a person has the people that he met or she met are better for having met that person, right? And if there's anyone that epitomizes that, it would be Greg, you know, because you cannot have a conversation with him and not feel better at the end of it. Like it was almost impossible. Sometimes I just want to call it because I'm having a crap day, you know, just get him on the phone, because I know by the end of it, I feel better. So when that came, you know, the whole International Fun at Work Day, I reckon, you know, this is the first celebration of it. It's the first time it's happened. Let's turn this into something massive and really bring it home that you can have fun and achieve your goals. And that's really what fun at work means. It's like, have fun because you're productive, because you're achieving your goals, because you're attaining your targets, and, you know, proving to the world that you're competent and capable. And that's what fun is, you know, and that's what I loved about him. And yeah, I don't have enough to say about him. Like, I don't have enough time to say everything about him. You know,
I totally understand.
Incredible person.
And, you know, what you said was right. I mean, just how many people have you touched? That judges your impact, you know, and that was something that he definitely believed in, was helping as many people as possible. And what I will say, to put the plug in for the book Fun at Work, you can obviously go to Amazon and buy Fun at Work. But what I also tell people is, if you get the audiobook, Greg narrated his own audiobook, so you can be driving in your car and have Greg talking to you while you're driving in your car. So I always tell that to people who come up to me and they say how much they miss him, miss talking to him. Well, start your day off with Fun at Work and have Greg get you pumped up on your way to the office or something like that, because you can definitely do that. And I do want to say also, thanks to everybody in the comments. I'm seeing comments from a lot of people I haven't spoke to in a long time, and some people I just had breakfast with this morning. So thank you guys for that. John, anything else that you wanted to say now that you've been hearing some other people talk? Did it stir anything up? Or
yeah, I mean, the one thing that is coming to mind, it's kind of an underlying aspect of Greg that is evident in about a little bit in about everything everyone has said, and that is do it now. I mean, you know, when they talk about his legacy, and I honestly believe my brother accomplished as much in his 66 years on this earth as some people would accomplish in 200 years or 150 years. I mean, if he didn't ever talk about doing something, if he had 27 days to do something incredible that made absolutely no sense of pulling it off, it was worth trying and doing it. And he could have waited another year and said, you know, the only date they had was 27 days from now. And, you know, that's not quite enough time to really do this the way it needs to be done. And, you know, that's what a lot of people, majority of people probably would have said. But when I look back after, you know, losing him so suddenly, and, you know, he told me, you know, when he was up here for his birthday on June 8th, so a month before he passed away, he said, and we've been to Switzerland together 4 times, together as a family. And boy, am I glad we went, and we weren't still talking about it when he passed away. We actually did it. And so, you know, he said, hey, he looked at me and he said, hey, brother, start planning. You know, I did a lot of the trip planning. He said, start planning. We're going to do 2 months the next time. Just you and I. That's all. You and I are going to Switzerland, and we're just going to explore areas we haven't seen yet and do what we want to do when we get up in the morning. And that, you know, that was hard because I was looking forward to that. But then I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to live like that. I'm going to focus on not what could have been or would have been, but what actually was. And it was because of the way he lived, and let's do it now. And, you know, a lot of the stories and messages that have been shared today would have never happened if they were just being talked about. And maybe we'll do that. We'll get to that next year. Well, you know, you guys have experiences, because when you met him, it was now. Let's do it right now. And he lived that life, and that makes it easier, if there is such a word, of his passing, to know how much ground was covered and how much wonderful things that we didn't talk about doing, we actually experienced together, because we were living in the moment, not living in tomorrow. Grant, you'll appreciate this. So there's a few cherished things that got passed on to me of my brothers. One of them was a gold ring from Indiana University that Sandra bought Greg. It's an IU. It says Indiana University on it when he graduated from dental school. And Sandra said it fit me, and she said that's something I'd like for you to have. And so I wish you could see it. I don't know that you can see it. See how bent it is? It's like bent, like he smashed a hammer on it or something. And it fits me because of that. Because if it wasn't bent and it was still round, it would be too big for my finger. But when I got it and it fit and I took it off, I'm like, well, the whole bottom of it's flat. It's not even round anymore. It's flat. He must have like really smashed his hand down, or something mashed that gold in that ring down flat. So I was in one of our favorite jewelers here in town, and I was telling him, we were talking about my brother passing away, and I said, yeah, the weirdest thing, I said, I got this ring, and he must have really got his hand smashed or something. I said, the bottom of it's flat. And the jeweler looked at me and he goes, wasn't a race car driver, was he? He goes, he didn't race cars, did he? I said, he did. He goes, that's a race car driver's ring. And so evidently gripping the wheel, I don't know. But the jeweler did not know my brother drove race cars. And he looked at the ring and he goes, your brother drive race cars, doesn't he? and Neil would say, I mean, he would sit there in his living room, and he would drive that.
Yeah, he would. We got him on the racing simulator, and he was learning all these race tracks, and he would go for hours, and then he and I would play together. So I'd be teaching him how to race better, and you're braking too early, you're braking too soft, you got to brake later, you got to brake harder. And so we would have coaching sessions, and he would learn how to do that. And then he'd tell me the next day he was up till 2 a.m, you know, racing. And here I was asleep, and I'd say, Dad, you know, he used to get mad at me when I was a kid, and I'd be playing video games all night. So I started giving him a hard time, telling him he had to go to bed and he had to get his homework done and things like that, because he was staying up late playing video games. But yeah, that's what he was doing. He was racing.
A couple of times, the last thought I'll leave is something that was true, Greg, and it actually became part of the family. We and it's been mentioned a couple of times today, as to it's all going to work out. Like, what's the situation I'm at? Well, we're going to handle that. I mean, you know, it's like Grant, you sitting down and going, okay, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, what's the next step? Okay, well, let's talk about that now, because we're going to do that. It was just on to the very solution. And we would go, and I can remember a couple times that we'd go in a restaurant and we'd walk up to the hostess, and we'd have a big party in Switzerland or whatever, big group of us, whatever, kind of hard to get a table. And we go, hey, we need a table. And they go, oh, we're booked right now or whatever. Greg and I look at each other, kind of laugh, like, they think we're not going to eat here. like they're just, there's a line, and they tell it, no, we're going to eat here. So we just have to figure out how we're going to do it. and there was all kinds of ways to get it done. I mean, you know, we got very creative, but even if we had to help them seat people, it didn't really matter. But we were going to eat here. And so that was true, Greg. And when something like that would come up, we would kind of look at each other, if we were together as a family, go, well, we're Wintereggs. Stop it. This ain't going to stop us right now. This is going to work out the way we want it to work out. We just don't know how we're going to do it yet. And then we'd get our minds together and work on the solution. So
yeah, generally in those situations, he would tell people how to solve the problem. Okay, well, what if you did that and you did that, and then we could sit there, and they go, oh yeah, we could do that. Sit right where we needed to go.
Yeah. I just wanted to say one thing. What's your name from Australia?
Michael
said that, you know, whenever you talk to Greg, he always just made you feel better. Well, whenever I was with Greg or talked to Greg, I wanted to be better.
Yeah.
Not just, you know, and I like to think that, you know, the things that I knew about him and was able to spend the time with him, that I am better because I knew him and I practice what he preached.
Exactly.
And I think that's the best way that you can sum it up, Cindy, is, you know, I meet so many people, so many clients, and people come up to me even now and still tell me how Greg changed their life 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And, you know, to me, it's just a testament to his intention to really want to help so many people, was that you wanted to do your best for him because of what he meant to you, etc. But for yourself, you know, you wanted to do better for yourself because of him and for him, you know, and that's what he was all about, was showing people that they had a purpose, that they had something, that they were valuable, that they were worthwhile, that they could do better, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sums it up really well when you say what you said. So I like that. I love, that's something that you said last year at our family dinner, and that stuck with me as well. The way you worded it, the way you said it, I've thought about that a number of times, actually.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff, you lived with us for a little while there, buddy. We were, I think I was like 13 or 14, maybe younger. You lived with us. Greg took you in while you were getting a house after the company moved to Virginia. He said, I got a house, just stay here. So,
well, it's really Sandra that took me in, because as you mentioned, you know, she you know, I was part of the family. She washed my underwear. She did my clothes. But, you know, and I think, you know, we haven't really talked about Greg and Sandra. And, you know, Greg and Sandra were, you know, I'm fortunate. I have great in-laws. You know, my parents are great. My father's passed away. But Greg and Sandra are always the model, you know, couple. You know, it's like, they were my role models for, you know, what you wanted a marriage to be like, what you wanted a relationship to be like. And, you know, Greg and Sandra are just beautiful people together. And so, yeah, I had the good fortune when when we first moved to Virginia to live with them and spend a lot of time with them. And when we were in Florida, gosh, we were always on the boat all the time and at the pool and spending time with the whole family. And they were like my second family, you know, and for a lot of years. And, you know, family, like we had issues, we had challenges, we had, you know, we loved each other, we had issues, and then we loved each other, just like a family. You know, it always came back around to being family. We're always intertwined. And you know, it's speaking of, you know, the spirit of play that Greg had. I know everybody's seen or most of you have probably seen that Michael Jordan. What's it called?
The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. And that there's that game where Michael Jordan, he has the flu and he scores like 30 points and wins the game. And so, which we were actually at that game. Brian Colon and I were actually at that game. I think it was like 1996. But that kind of epitomizes Greg. And I remember one time we're actually speaking at Reston and Greg was sick as a dog. And his ribs were out and he was in pain. And there was like a 3-day seminar, you know, and there's, you know, however many people there, a few hundred people there, and he's speaking. And Greg's like the only one that can speak. And Greg did it. And in between like speaking sessions, he's like off on the side and, you know, getting massages and doing all these things. Then he'd get up there and he'd speak and like nobody ever knew that he was actually even sick, you know. And that was just the type of grit that he had. And he had the right purpose, whereas anybody else would have been like, I'm sick, you know, somebody else has got to do it. And after working with him for 15 years, and everybody tells these stories about making it go right, I mean, it's really hard for me to recall all the stories because it was literally like several times a week that he would do that.
Yeah, I know it. I know exactly what you mean.
Impossible. Oh, that's not that. Like, you're really gonna do what, you know? And then you're like, that's not gonna happen. Then you come back a couple hours later, you're like, you did what? That's crazy, you know? And it was, and that's what he did because he was always interested in helping people and making his goal and helping other people be better, and not paying attention to all the reasons, all the problems. He always paid attention to what he wanted, paid attention to the solution. And because his heart was pure and he just wanted to help people, it always worked out, you know, and that's probably the biggest lesson that Greg, you know, taught me and that has stuck with me, is that if your heart is pure and you work hard, it'll work out.
Absolutely. And by the way, the reason his ribs were probably out was because he was dirt biking with me and my brother over the weekend, and he probably wiped out. And,
yeah.
You know,
yeah, I saw a few of those wipeouts in the backyard there.
Yeah. Yeah. But if there was nobody else to do a lecture, he'd be, you know, without a voice. You know, I saw him drinking gallons of hot water with lemon and honey in it to keep it going for another hour, you know, stuff like that. He always, you know, made sure that he delivered. Now, I am going to bring in one last person here who decided he wanted to join in. So, Vince, welcome.
Hey, Vince.
Hey, everybody. Hey,
Vince.
can you hear me?
This is my much older and less good-looking brother, Vince. So, welcome to the stream. Vince has actually never been on the Matterhorn.
He only says that
Matterhorn
because
YouTube channel.
He only said that because I can't give him a wedgie from here. So no, I've been watching the whole time in the background.
Yeah, I know you've been watching.
I love everything you guys have said. It's awesome.
Vince, have you met Michael before?
Hey, Vince.
No, not at all, sir. But nice to meet you.
Yeah, and I know Michael, you have to leave. I know, Michael, you have to leave in a couple of minutes here. It's
yeah, I do. Unfortunately,
you got to finish your coffee and actually start your day while we're all in.
Right. I've been going since for many hours, but I've been having fun while I'm doing it, so that's fine. And look, I think just before I head off, you know, Greg, if you're watching, thanks. We will keep having fun in your honor, and you know, it's going to be interesting to see where we can take this and how we can grow it. I know that my company, as it grows worldwide, we're going to make this a thing, and we're going to communicate it to our client base as we expand. And let's just keep that memory alive and really just prove to people that you can have fun at work and achieve what you want to achieve. Really, it just comes down to a decision to do it. So thank you so much for everyone for your stories, and it's been a pleasure talking.
Thank you, Michael. Pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
You too, Michael. That was great.
Thank you for coming on, Michael. For those of you who don't know, Michael owns the company MetaPulse. You see his the name of the company over his shoulder there. They are actually our channel sponsors here on YouTube. So we work closely with them with their software to help our clients grow. And they believed enough in me and Abby to help keep our YouTube channel going. So we appreciate your help. So vibe fun at work, go to metapulse.com, sign up with them. It's going to help your business tremendously. And we appreciate you coming on, Michael, all the way from Australia. So you are our international presence for tonight. So I appreciate
it. Awesome. I'm the token Aussie. See you later.
That's right. That's right. We got to have one. But, Michael, I'll talk to you later. Have a good one, man.
You too.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
All right, Vince, welcome. It's all family here.
Yeah. It's funny, Grant. I was listening to what you were saying, and it's funny as a testament to what Grant and Susie were saying on how much it was not a problem. I forgot about that timeline on the first Race for the Future until you said it. I had to help with the logo and some of the promo stuff, and after you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Like, we had to put together shirts and logos and banners and a website and all this stuff. It was just funny, to your point on how it just wasn't a problem. Like, the stress of that didn't stand out at all until you mentioned it. And I was like, oh wow, I totally forgot about that. That was crazy, having to get all that. We had the little like rubber bracelets and all the
driver shirts, the t-shirts, flag bags, man, everything.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a special movement for sure. I remember at that first one, the chaos of the day, and it's going along, and he's like, yeah, so this is good, right? And in his way. And I was like, man, this is incredible. He's like, you haven't seen nothing yet. He's like, we're just getting started. And that was the first year. And, and then it just kept topping from there. But yeah, those are special moments for sure. Just the all out charge. I mean, I was thinking the other day, just kind of reflecting on things. I mean, think about them every day, obviously, many times a day. And I just started thinking about all the stuff that he's done. I was like, oh yeah, he was on a pit crew for an IndyCar for a weekend. And, he did, like parasailing off of like peaks of Peru. And we did hot air balloons. I mean, as a kid, he sponsored hot air balloons for his dental practice. And we went up in hot air balloons. My grandma was in hot air balloons. They came home. He did that for years. They came home one time, and my grandma had stalks of corn sticking out of her hair, and everybody was covered in corn. They crash landed in a cornfield and got drug in the basket. And they all came in laughing with corn like everywhere and hay. Just it was a mess. And I mean, I was telling my wife Michelle the other day, like, I mean, how many people would like to have done one of those things in their life? Mm-hmm. How many people would hope, man, one day if they could be on a NASCAR or an IndyCar pit crew, that would be incredible. And that was just one of so many things that he had done. It's like, it's really mind-boggling. I mean, to think about that. And every now and then I'll think of a new thing that he had done. I'm like, oh my God, he did that too. It's just, that's pretty cool. Keeps you going. It keeps me going, man, I got to go faster,
Yeah, I know, right? Like,
keep thinking about stuff. Yeah.
I mean, when Dad was my age, he basically would have, let's see, he sold his dental practice like 92, 93. How old was he then? Like, not even 40.
He was born in 58. He was born in 50. No, he was born in 55. 55.
So he would have been like not even 40 yet.
Right.
And he'd already graduated college dental school, had an amazingly successful dental practice, sold it, and then became a dental consultant. And I'm still trying to, like, you know, I'm like almost there. And I'm like, man, he did so much at such a young age. Be 35 and already retire, sell your practice, and go on to your next thing. It's pretty impressive. I'm behind on his timeline. Let's put it that way.
You know, you might think as his brother that, and this is kind of an interesting kind of a backdoor attribute of my brother. And like, you might think that I knew about all the things that are being talked about today. And it's just on and on where somebody will mention something that I didn't know my brother did, because my brother wouldn't go and jump off of a 400-foot cliff with a kite on his back without you finding out later about it. He wouldn't go do this big event in 27 days. And he may have commented a little bit about, I did this event and it was very successful over the weekend. But he didn't go into any of the details about, hey, you wouldn't believe this. In 27 days, we pulled this off, and there were 200 people there, and we put a website together and banners, and none of that. Absolutely none of that. Hey, had a good weekend. You know, we put a good fundraising event, and everybody had a lot of fun, raced cars, had a couple hundred people there. That's it. So, you know, and that's Greg.
Yeah.
Greg was never boasting.
That was normal.
What he had done. It was
what he had just done was normal. It wasn't
yeah,
out of the normal. It was just, yeah, that's what we did.
Yep. And even, you know, I didn't know until we were at graduation of dental school, and he was the president of his class, and he's up there being introduced to, you know, as the commencement speaker. You know, I didn't know, you know, that I knew he was the president of his class, but I didn't really know that he was revered in the whole school like this by the professor. My brother wasn't ever walking around like, I am the dude, man. I'm the number one dude in dental school, you know. No, he was never like that, although he was president of his class all 4 years. But never said it. He never told us that. I mean, we accidentally knew it when he, you know, planned the spring break trip. The president of class got to pick where the dental school went for spring break. And so he went skiing out in Colorado is where he, you know, went to class, where he took the class. But one thing I knew is he got to do that because he was the president. But outside of that, he never talked about it.
And if I'm not mistaken, that class trip where they went skiing in Colorado, Vince, isn't that where Dad and Mom met for the first time?
Mm-hmm. I believe
that
so.
trip that you just
That's
talked
possible.
about there, John?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah,
so he's the class president. He decides we're going skiing in Colorado.
Yeah.
These are broke dental students. He figured out how to make it happen. And that's where they actually met, I believe, was on that trip. Mom was at IU nursing school while he was at IU dental school.
That's right.
That was our first experience skiing, learning it in Colorado. And we went many years afterwards. I think he went all 4 years out there skiing. But we followed along and met him out there. But that was true Greg's fashion. If you wanted to know that he raced a Ferrari or was in Monza or something, you had to ask. He wasn't going to tell you. He wasn't going to go do it and then come back and tell you he did it. You'd have to say, hey, you been doing anything exciting lately? Well, yeah, I've been in Italy racing some cars. And I mean, you had to ask him to find out.
It happened. There was numerous times where I'd like, oh, what's happening? You know, and he'd make a comment. I'm like, what? You were in Denmark last weekend? He's like, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like, you went to Denmark on Saturday. You came back on Monday. You know, we're talking Tuesday. He's like, oh, yeah, I went to Denmark and gave a speech and the thing. I'm like, I had no idea that you did that. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations like that. I'd find out way later that he had something planned or going or whatever, and it was just normal. Like, what do you think? I'm just going to sit around and do nothing? What do you think I've been doing the last month? You know, I've been working on this. Like, I didn't know. And Grant and Susie, you guys helped him with a lot of those projects. So you guys were in on it too.
Yeah, we had so much fun.
I mean, we
Literally.
spent time together in England, Africa, and possibly other in the Caribbean. I mean, I don't know if everyone knows like his travel schedule. I think it would be really interesting for one of the family members to go back and pull out his little pad, his little writing pad that he kept
his tablet, his Remarkable. Yeah.
And look at his calendar from like 2015 through 2020, because I mean he would be doing stuff for MGE and speaking, and then he'd get us to we need you to do a seminar, an HR seminar in Africa, and he would get on a plane and fly to 20 hours each way to Africa for stay overnight, do 1 or 2 seminars, and fly back, and all unpaid, completely voluntary, just because that's who he was.
And he would send us selfies from like these outrageous places sometimes, like, oh, hey, just thinking of you. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Where are you?
Yeah,
But the fact that you said that about being remarkable, I was like, as you were talking, Vince, I was like, oh my gosh, the same thing, Neil and John, what you were saying about that humbleness is so amazing. But the other thing that it really hit me was I feel like his zest and the way he conquered life was just normal. Like what we might be astounded or amazed by was just the way he lived. So it wasn't like, oh, I have to tell you about this ridiculous target that we pulled off in 27 days. Because to him, it was just like, we had this event and it was exciting. And we raised like close to $500,000 for a good cause, like this was kind of like just the way he sort of lived. And there was nothing astounding about it. But there was one thing that Sandra said when, after he passed and we were spending, a bit of time here and there. And one thing that she had said to me, and I just have to say this as not just a friend, but also if this doesn't speak volumes, but obviously it was very difficult for Sandra. And we were there at her house with her and asking how she's doing. And is there anything she needs and that kind of thing. And this was like, probably, I'm going to say maybe 6 weeks after. And she looks at me and she goes, I miss him, which of course is the most honest, raw piece of communication. And she just, but this was what hit me. She looked at me and she said, he was really remarkable, like a really remarkable person. And I was like, they were married for 50 years. How long were they married? Not 50, but obviously 40 years. So they're married for most of their lifetime. And with this pureness and beauty and it wasn't even a griefy piece of communication. It was just this honest, he was so remarkable. And I was just like, yes, absolutely. Like if that doesn't make you want to be a better person, I don't know what does. And I think about that statement probably at least once a week because, we're doing our own thing. And I constantly think of Greg, specifically the fun at work aspect, because we're building a business and it's challenging and we have these things and we have to pivot. And I'm like, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. I'm like, how are we going to make it fun? Even if it's intense. Okay. And then I kind of like pull my bootstraps up and I tackle it. And that's every week.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like you guys are saying, the humbleness of like taking this thing in 27 days and getting it done. And at the end of it, not being like, I'm amazing. It's just, hey, we got it done. Let's move on to the next target. It's that objective thinking. It's that good. We did the goal. Now what's next? And that type of a viewpoint and that type of an attitude for sure. Jeff, when you were working with Greg and your formative ages coming out of college and realizing, okay, everything I learned about selling was wrong. You probably learned more from my dad in a month than you did in your college education. Would that be a safe assumption?
Yeah. Very safe assumption. And what was so impactful about working with Greg and working at MGE in general is that that was 93, 94 when I started, and my dad had an office supply business. And then I guess some people on here are old enough to remember the individual office supply stores before Staples, and my dad had one of those, and we had a very successful business. My family did up until 91 when Staples came out and Office Max, and he went bankrupt. So I was kind of on the heels of my father's bankruptcy when I found Greg and MGE and all that stuff, and he basically took me under his wing because I was not I've been in college, my dad had a failed business, and I had to kind of learn really how to sell and how to help people, and he took me under his wing. And one of the things that when we were working side by side, what would happen is we were selling training over the phone, and people didn't trust you very much. And and I would sell someone, and then they would refund, because they would have buyer's remorse. And Greg would call them up 100% of the time and save them and reclose them. And we actually had a nickname for that. He had a nickname for it. He called it an Eddie Belfour, who was the goalie for the Blackhawks, right? Because it would be like a save, right? but that's how I'd learn, because I'd listen to what Greg said. I mean, I had I don't know if you guys remember the office in Deerfield. Do you remember the office in Deerfield?
Oh yeah.
Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So they had an office. The dogs are going to start barking. They had an office. Greg had an office, and the doctor's windows when you go into a doctor's office, the sliding glass. So I sat behind him in that office, and I would listen to everything that he said when he was selling people face to face. And Abby was talking about those uncomfortable conversations. And I got to hear all of those uncomfortable conversations that he would have with business owners, because they were uncomfortable conversations. And the amount of, like when you walk into a room and you can feel like joy, or you can feel sadness, or you can feel anger, right? You could actually feel like the uncomfortableness coming through the windows and through the walls of those conversations. Like I was so uncomfortable just listening to him, and I wasn't even there, right? And so I unlike you, John, knowing him in a different way, I was a total professional relationship, and I got to see all the hard work that went into his being able to be so carefree, because he worked incredibly hard doing what it is that he did. Long hours, incredibly hard, which is why he won so much and he had so much fun. So
they probably call that, Jeff, a Vasilevsky now. Not a Belfour, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a long time ago. That was Belfour.
So I mean, just so many so many memories. It's nice to listen to everybody talk about basically just his carefree attitude that he had towards life, and how much action and activity he partook in. And it is inspirational. I'm getting inspired just listening to everything again, as I was at his memorial service, which was the best memorial service I've ever been to. And now that I think about it, it's like,
yeah, that's for sure.
What other memorial service was like that?
Oh yeah, the number of people that left there, inspired, was incredible.
Yeah, like a self-help seminar or something like that. It was like it was
like a friend of ours told us that a woman came up to her after that she knew that had been having trouble with her kids, and she's yelling at her kids, and she had a big problem with her, dealing with her kids. And she left there and said, I need to be a better parent, because she's like, my kids would not say that about me, if I passed away today. Right. Like she left there going, holy shit, I need to, it was like a wake up call for her. Like, wow, I need to be better. I mean, the number of people that came up to me after that was incredible. yeah, it's great to come back. We think of these things, all the time, but it's nice to reminisce and be able to share. One thing I just wanted to say, because we run into this a lot, and Michelle is actually really good at reminding me, we'll have a situation where, like, we were going to plan this trip to Montana. Last year, we were ready for snow, and we were just like, screw it. Like, we need to get out. And we made it the most Greg family vacation we could. We did dog sledding, snowmobiling, skiing. Oh shoot, we did one other thing. I mean, every day was like a major thing. Driving in the snow, doing this, it was just nonstop. And as we were kind of trying to plan things, and we'd have these times every now and then leading up to it, like, well, should we do this thing? Should we go dog sledding and also go skiing? And Michelle would be like, what would your dad do? I'm like, we'd be doing everything. We'd be doing all the activities, and we did. I mean, we actually left like, man, I actually wish I had a couple of days more there to just relax, because every day we had something that we were doing. And she'll remind me of that often, like, even for stuff like what you were saying, John, like going to a restaurant. We had one recently where it was like, they don't take a reservation, or they were full. You couldn't book any more reservations and all this. And I'm like, well, let's go try. And she's like, where do we go? Then what if we don't get in? And Michelle's like, well, no, screw it. Your dad would just go and we would be getting in at that restaurant. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And we went, and they sat us right away. Like, as soon as we decided, like, yeah, that's crap. Like, we're going to eat there. It's so, it's simple stuff, but it's so inspirational in everyday life of just little things. Like, we'd be in the car and, maybe someone would be like, oh, there's no parking there. And he's like, nah, we'll find a parking spot when we get there. Like, there's just no counter thought against anything. And I constantly have to remind myself of that, and be better with that. But that's just something that I think, what would Greg do is kind of the new saying that Michelle has said, and it's so true. It's like, sometimes it takes that to snap me out of it and go, oh yeah, we want to do that. We're just going to do it, So that's my little piece of advice.
Now I'm going to bring in one last guest before we wrap up for the night. I have somebody here, as you guys will see here. His name is Cole Herzik. Now, funny enough, I really don't know a whole lot about Cole. Because my dad had a whole nother side on top of everything else that he did, that kind of like Susie's saying, I didn't know you did that. He had all kinds of stuff he did with a group called the Private Dentist Alliance, which is his own nonprofit to help dentists in private practice, that he started on his own because he felt so deeply about the way dentistry was going. He decided he wanted to help dentists. And Cole was one of the people who helped him start this organization a couple of years ago. And you are, Cole, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a fourth-year dental student. Is that correct?
I am.
Awesome. Well, Cole, thank you very much for coming onto the stream. I think you and I spoke one other time, like well over a year ago now. And I really don't even know too much about what you and my dad did together. And I know you got on a little late here, so you didn't get to see everybody else talk and whatnot, but give us the idea of what it's like as you, probably a first or second year dental student, somehow through connections meeting Dr. Winteregg and getting to work with him, and what you kind of got out of that. I know that's a big question.
It's definitely a tall order, but
that is a tall order.
I will do my very best. So yes, hello, my name is Cole Herzik. I'm a fourth-year dental student at LECOM School of Dental Medicine, which is primarily in Bradenton, Florida, but I'm in my last kind of residency year, if you will, up in Destin, Florida currently. And I happened to meet Dr. Winteregg in my first year of school. As a first year, you're allowed a lot of opportunities to go to conferences and to go to see some different stuff. And we happened to get invited kind of secondarily through a classmate of ours. It's the daughter of Dr. Rudiguero that some of you may know. Teresa is her name. She told our class about, hey, there's this conference in Tampa, which is not far if you know the area. You guys might want to go check it out. And we got invited. So we went. I told Dr. Winteregg this after I met him. I said, I was just so excited going to this conference. I mean, I took notes on everything. I filled up a whole notebook of notes and, names of people that I want to reach out to and things that, excite me and gave me like this second wind, you know what I mean? And after that, I happened to have a podcast with some of my dental school friends. And we were like, okay, who do we interview? We were interviewing dentists about what great things we can add, to the dental community, ways we can improve ourselves. And I was like, guys, I think I have a great suggestion. Let's reach out to Dr. Winteregg that I met, and maybe we can get him to talk on our podcast. And they were like, I mean, we haven't met him, but sure, let's do it. So I reached out to him, and we actually got him to come to our school, LECOM, and give a presentation to our business club about the 4 pillars of business. And then from there, he agreed to speak on our podcast. We had him on the podcast. And then from there, he was like, you know what, this is a different kind of relationship. I think I want you part of PDA. And then, cut a couple months later, kind of the COVID thing happened. And, it was kind of a weird situation where I actually was reaching out to him, trying to link us up and how we can run PDA with everything kind of being behind closed doors and being virtual. And then, so long story short, from there, it was almost 10 to 11 months of once I joined PDA that we spoke almost every single day in crazy capacities. Like, he would give me a phone call and he's like, hey, had a thought, writing it down on my pad right now. Can you just quickly make this happen before I forget this thought? Okay, great. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Or I'd get an email at 3 a.m. in the morning. Hey, had a thought. And I'd see it the next morning when I woke up, and I said, this came in at 3 a.m. in the morning. And he was this lucid and had a great idea of something that like clearly fixed all of our problems. I think there was 6 or 7 different occasions where we had, like a deadline and we were trying to figure something out. And sure enough, he's like, oh, it'll come to me. And sure enough, like at 3 a.m. in the morning, he's like, hey, had a thought. I think I know how we can resolve this. I'll talk more about it in the morning, but here's my thought now. So that was just him. And I can say it was unfortunate during the time of the memorial. I unfortunately had to miss it since I did have COVID, and I had so much that I wanted to say to everyone and so many people that I'd wanted to meet in person, Neil included. We did have that one call the one time, but everybody else, of course, I wanted to meet. But no, he was just a special person, and more so to me in a lot of different capacities. He was more than just a boss and a mentor. He was truly like having a friend, but not only that, he took a special place for me. I'll share a personal story about myself, is that one of my great mentors unfortunately passed right before I entered dental school. It was my grandfather. He was a dentist, and he was one of my people that I always turned to. He coached me through high school, college, was always there for me, was always giving me helpful suggestions about how to be, not only a great healthcare provider, but also just a great man in general. And he unfortunately passed right before I entered school. So in kind of a weird way, and, over time, it was just the most beautiful thing. Dr. Winteregg kind of filled that little spot there. And I reached out to him just for so many different things. And I looked up to him in so many different ways, not only as just a businessman, a dentist, but, just about everything he held as true values, to himself. One of the most powerful videos I think I ever watched that he did, it's actually on Matterhorn, I believe. He talked about his 40-year marriage with his wife, Sandra. And he talked about how, all the things that made it work and all the challenges and the things about how he's like, no matter, I think one of the most beautiful things he said in there, he's like, no matter how like, frustrated we may get at each other, he goes, sometimes I just laugh and I go, that's just your mother, and he just was, I don't know. It's every little thing about the way he does things. And it was, it's bringing tears to my eyes now, just thinking about it, just the way he approached things and just the way he thought about things and how he was, I think I was hearing just kind of the tail end of what you guys were saying before about how he got it done one way or another, or he was just so calm, cool, and collected, like, oh, don't worry about it. It'll happen. We'll get there. Like you talked about that parking spot, or that's right. He said before we had like this deadline about one thing with PDA, and he's like, oh, don't worry, it'll come to us. And sure enough, like within a week, he figured it out, and he's like, change of direction. We're going to do a complete 180, but he still got it done in time.
Let me ask you this.
That's awesome.
Because when you met Greg, you were first year dental school. Now you're fourth year. So, you know, you're going to be doing dentistry soon. Do you think that your dental career has changed because you did meet him?
Oh, 100%. I think just not only my dental side, but just me as a person. We had so many great conversations, you know, just aside from PDA, where he would just talk about life in general, and he would, you know, give me guidance and, you know, ask me questions about, you know, what was happening and like where my headspace was, and just so many great thoughts, just great perspective about how to look at things. Not only is how you treat business partners, people around you, but how you function on a, you know, daily basis. And I loved his organization style. I love that he was a take no prisoners style, where he got it done.
Yeah.
It was going to get done.
That's awesome. Well,
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
I've heard your name, Cole, about 7,000 times, by the way. We've never even met. But, you know, he would talk about PDA, and I got Cole doing this and Cole's doing this, and I got to get this over to Cole. And yeah, he really thought a lot of you, for sure. I've never met you, but I know that that was evident from his communication on the topic, for sure.
We met at the barbecue place.
Yes, we did.
That's right.
Please tell Grant I said hello also. I miss him also. I haven't seen him in quite a while.
Yeah, I will. He's here.
Yeah, man. I think you got to make a stop through here next time you're driving from up north down south or whatever. You're gonna have to stop off, and we'll have to have a reunion and get to meet you face to face.
Yes, please. I talk to Aaron, I think almost, you know, every other day now too, and I still have never met him in person either.
There you go.
Fearless leader of PDA, and we still have never met face to face. We had actually, I think, only 2 Zoom calls ever. It's ever been either just over the phone or texting.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to, you're like an honorary family member. So, you know, you're going to have to come down and say hi to everybody.
Eventually, I hope to go on the trotty bikes in Switzerland.
Yes.
Cole, I think I'm the only male in the family that hasn't crashed and burned on them yet.
Okay.
So they're a lot of fun, but one little mistake and you'll be picking yourself up off the ground. But
you may need to retire those, John.
The trotty bikes are a lot of fun, and of course Switzerland's such a great place to do them too. So I'm going to take off. Neil, I want to thank you and everybody.
Yeah, I think we're at the end here.
That made it possible. You know, I echo Michael. As comment from you know, Australia, to somehow make this a fun, make July 13th a fun at work day, and that would be a wonderful thing if that ever happened, that people could understand fun at work isn't going to work to have fun. It's leaving at the end of the day, giving it your all, doing everything within your power to make a difference in this world. That's fun. And even with all the challenges and hurdles and everything that come during your career and your day, and from the minute you get up till you go to bed, but it's fun to go home, lock the door and go home at the end of the day and lay down and know that you just lived in the moment that day and did everything possible to make the world a better place for passing through it. And Greg did that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's the perfect way of summing it all up. And obviously we've gone for almost 2 hours talking about how awesome Greg was. So I just want to thank, you know, everybody that watched, everybody that participated, Jeff, Grant, Susie, John, you guys stuck around for the whole time. We had some other guests come and go. So I want to thank everybody for watching, the awesome comments. Please like the stream as you're watching it. And we will do more fun at work days and, you know, expand it out every year. This is kind of the way that we decided to do it this year, was tell stories and what you learned and inspiration from Greg. And I appreciate everybody who watched, listened, participated. Like I said, go to Amazon, get Fun at Work, either the book, get the audio book, have Greg read it to you while you're driving in your car tomorrow. and be inspired by that. Cole, thanks for coming in right at the end there, man. I do appreciate it. And I just appreciate everybody taking part in it. So the Matterhorn channel is going to keep going and driving. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, and we'll see you all at the next video. This was a little bit of a different one, but very needed. And I'm very glad that we did it. And I'm very glad that you guys all participated with
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.